Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
And now, here's Jay. And I welcome all my friends and everybody else out there to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET, where it seems like we just did this show a few minutes ago, doesn't it? It seems like, boy, time goes fast. And it only seemed to speed up over, say, the last 75 years or so. But, you know, it's the way it goes. So we are going to contemplate retirement, how to best prepare for said retirement, and how to best stay successfully retired. And my new little yapping thing here is absolutely meet retirement needs now. Top off your tank to make it all the way. We have a really good guest in Mr. James Veale, who is extremely intelligent and also... well, of course, everybody is compared to me, but I mean, also knows a great deal about the more legal side of the finance portion of reverse mortgages, taxes, things like that. So remember to call in if you have a question, or, you know, even in the future, we can get you contact and we can get you answers. So please call, email. And what do I have here? I have the phone number. And there is my phone number. It is 866-955-2233, 866-955-2233. And let's see, can you see that? Yeah, you can actually see that in the background. Sometimes, depending on where the sun is, you can't see that. But don't forget the educatedretirementradio.com, which is the program you're listening to right now. But also drheckham.com, drhecm.com, and that stands for I am the doctor or the guru of home equity conversion mortgage. Also my website, well, you know the website, we just talked about it, bestloantoday@gmail.com is my email address, and that is so easy. Now, if you do dare to contact me, shouldn't be a dare, shouldn't have to, you should want to, just to talk about whatever. I will not just keep sending you emails or bugging you or calling you or that kind of thing. It just ain't going to happen. Remember, the future is now and knowledge is power. So once again, 866-955-2233. And when you jump over to that site, you will see about halfway down, you'll see where it says live 3 o'clock shows. So you can always watch the show live. And also you can, you know, on the right side there has all the past shows of the station for quite a while. So not just me, you can listen to Daryl McCants, who always thanks me on his, and I'll thank him. And Ron Siegel, and I was on his show yesterday. Very good show, I thought. And he's on every day at 6 o'clock. So, well, Monday through Friday anyway. So also a little bit further down, you will see a link to my YouTube channel. So you want me to have a day job because you feel sorry for it? No, I do have a day job. It's at the Loan Source, which is a lending company here in Southern California, and my lending license, NMLS 384-565. And I have a Department of Real Estate number also, which, you know, I do not sell real estate, but I like to keep up with everything, 792630. And again, I did say Daryl McCants, thank you, with Yvette Walker, along with Bill Morris of UCI. And Daryl's show is 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. Now, our guest today also knows Daryl, so we might, we'll try not to joke about him too much. But anyway, what is today? Oh, I just saw it walk out. Is this for me? I thought it was cheesecake to begin with, but it kind of looks that way. The way it's cut, it looks like it's got graham cracker. What kind of cheese is this?
Gouda.
Gouda. It's very good. National Cheese Day, not to be confused with Grilled Cheese Day or Mac and Cheese Day. This is a holiday for the big cheese only. So cheese is created from milk that is produced not only by cows, but also buffalo, goat, sheep. Actually, all mammals produce milk, but they don't all make for good cheese. Temperature and aging affect the flavor as well as species and seasonings added during the process. Take the opportunity to go and try some new cheeses today. They have usually supermarkets, even Ralph's, Kroger, whatever you want to call it. You know, before the lockdown, they had free samples. So maybe they'll have some free samples out there again. I know if you go to Whole Foods, they will give you a sample of just about anything that you want. But there are plenty out there. And they cost, some of them cost quite a bit, so you don't want to just buy them all to sample. So there are over 1,800 different kinds to choose from. So here's some cheesy jokes, and you could figure, now what does this asterisk mean again, please?
Nothing, just to denote that it's a joke.
That's it, okay. I thought it had to do with nasty words. So what did Gorgonzola say to Cheddar? Looking sharp. Okay. What do you call a dinosaur made of cheese? Gorgonzola. Oh boy, that's... Why did the cheese cross the road? To feta the other side. Not sure I get that completely, but okay. What's the smartest cheese? Cheese Whiz. And, you know, Cheese Whiz, we bought some about 6 months ago and read the jar. It says it lasts for like 100 years after it's been opened. So I'm sure that's good and safe. And in Philly, they use Cheese Whiz quite a bit for Philly cheesesteaks. So what did the police say to the cheese thief? You've been up to no Gouda. Okay. National Donut Day. Now, this holiday was created by the Salvation Army in 1938. The donut event was to honor those of their members who served donuts to soldiers during World War I. And I got a picture denoting or showing that. And here we go. And yes, I could eat all those donuts, or I could before I lost all this weight. I still think I can, but probably won't get through it. And what is this picture of right here? Oh, soldiers eating donuts. No wonder we won the war. There you go. So donuts were often cooked in oil inside the metal helmets of American soldiers. Wow, I didn't know that. Thus the term doughboys. Huh. On this day, many bakeries and coffee shops may offer donut deals to their customers. It's National Shopping Cart Day, and in case you don't remember what a shopping cart looks like, this one's pretty cute, ain't it? This is cool. This is the amount I should be eating. Look at all of the detail on this, except the front wheels don't turn, but that's pretty cool, ain't it? On June 4th, 1937, Sylvan Goldman made history. He rolled out the world's first shopping cart at his Humpty Dumpty supermarket chain in Oklahoma City. And here he is. There he is. Looks like he's got quite a few there. What were they doing before the shopping carts? Can't tell you. He came up with the design by placing a basket on a seat of a folding chair and wheels on the legs. The awarded patent was titled Folding Basket Carriage for Self-Service Stores. What stores are not self-service anymore? Shopping cart trivia. The Idiot-A-Rod. That's an event. Idiot-A-Rod is a shopping cart race in which teams of 5 or more idiots, count me in, run through the streets of a major metropolitan area, and the carts are usually themed and feature people in costumes. Many times the city will award Best in Show prize, and the competitions commonly include sabotage in the early years as tripping, throwing marbles and large obstacles in their paths. That seems like that could be a bit dangerous, but you know, when it comes to winning a shopping cart race, it's all worth it. These events have taken place in cities Ann Arbor, Denver, New York City, Portland, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., just to name a few. This sport was originally founded in San Francisco, where else? In 1994, so it doesn't go back that far. I thought we were talking about like World War I and thereabouts, or, well, it couldn't have been because of the year it was invented. In any case, we know that we do believe in challenging the status quo, and that families and people do need to be active, not reactive. So let's see how far we can get through some famous people's birthdays. It is Anthony Braxton, who was born in 1945. Now, Braxton is an African-American experimental composer and saxophonist. He was born in Chicago, grew up in a poorer district where he attended Betsy Ross Grammar School and had a paper route. He sang in a church choir and had an early interest in rock music, with his favorite being Frankie Lyon and the Teenagers, who I haven't heard of, band Bill Haley and the Comets, which I have heard of, but also had an interest in rocket ships, television, and technology. In his early teens, he studied drafting courses in a vocational school. Rocket ships. Let me show you some pictures, because this is a really, really talented, I was going to say young man, but he's retired now after teaching university. Shows him with a small instrument here, but let's show you a slightly larger instrument here. But my wife and I saw him, may have been Keystone Corner, I'm not sure, which I don't even think exists anymore, in San Francisco many a year ago, where he actually played a saxophone. He had to get up, not a step ladder, a real ladder, like 8 or 10 feet in the air, so that he could reach the mouthpiece. This guy is extremely experimental, and here he is experimenting with relaxation and a pipe. So doesn't he look studious here? He do. Let me show you some records. I think we can get some records out of the way here. Oh, here he is with the pipe again. And here he is with his jowls full of air playing. This, I don't know if you can see this on this one, but when he does his compositions, he will dedicate them to certain people, but he'll call them composition 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and he's various diagrams, mathematical diagrams, and he does not sound that cold if you think of it like that. It's really, really good stuff. Creative orchestra music, 1976. There you go. And I think you can see some more of those swiggles hither and thither on this one. Here's volume 1 of this series. This is more of a standards, where he plays normal jazz. And he's on here with normal people. Hank Jones on piano. Rufus, what's his name? Reed on bass, and Victor Lewis on drums. Oh, and this is actually a promo copy. Is it a white label? Let me see. I'm discovering things as I find these visual things for the radio, you know what I mean? And yes, it's a white label. Okay. this is, you might want to put that back on it correctly. I screwed it up. Here's volume 2, and I have volume 3, I think, somewhere. And there's another promo copy. And these, again, are standards proving he can play normal music and is very, very good at it. Okay, so his early musical career, he was involved with the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians. He led a musical trio and recorded a double LP for alto in 1969. Now, alto's a lot smaller than what we saw him, with tracks dedicated to John Cage, who we saw John Cage on his 90th birthday at a really old hotel theater in downtown Los Angeles on 9th and Broadway. I know it was 9th because it was just down the street from the original Pantry, but I'm not sure that it was Broadway. I think it is. It's still there. We saw him on his 90th birthday, and who did we see on his 70th birthday? Tony Bennett, and he's still going strong, and anyway. This album was performed by Braxton with alto saxophone and no additional instrumentation or musicians. So over the years, he's done hundreds of compositions and has been inspired by his studies of the Native American ghost dance, which originally which was meant to reunite the living with spirits of the dead. And during his latter professional years, he was a professor of music at Wesleyan University until his retirement in 2013, which is when I should have retired, but I haven't. Braxton won several awards, such as the Guggenheim, MacArthur, and United States Artists Fellowship Awards. He also received honorary doctorates from the University of Liège in Belgium, as well as the New England Conservatory of Music. So, I mean, he's quite the mensch, and I'm glad to see he's still around, and I doubt if he's still recording, but, this has brought a new excitement for me to play his records as soon as I get my new amplifier, which I don't have yet. So I hate to get too far in, but I'll tell you that Bruce Dern was born June 4th, 1936, and we'll just get into him a little bit before we take our break and then get to Mr. James Veale, or Jim as we call him. Let me tell you a quick story about Jim, maybe instead of doing this. I met him on LinkedIn many years, well, several years ago. And boy, we just did not like each other. And it was kind of funny because now we're very good friends and enjoy each other's company quite a bit. But, it's you got to spend some time to get to know some people before you really, jump to conclusions about them. So I thought that was kind of funny. But Bruce Dern is an American actor, often playing supporting villainous characters of unstable nature. Oh, yeah. And he was born, Bruce Dern, in Chicago to a utility chef and an attorney. He attended University of Pennsylvania and was a lifelong avid runner and track star, and was sought to qualify for the Olympic trials. Sought or fought to? So they looked for him for the Olympic trials in 1956. And Dern studied at the Actor Studios and got small roles in Broadway plays, one being Sweet Bird of Youth, starring Paul Newman. And let me show you a few pictures before we take our break. And not that you don't know who this guy is, you do. But, sometimes it's nice to see pictures and how people have changed and how people look in, various makeups and different roles. There's one Bruce. There's another Bruce. Not to be confused with Bruce Cooper, a friend of mine. And here's the younger running Bruce. And yeah, you see that? We got that. And here is more of the My Generation Bruce. There he is. And with that, Bruce and I will say goodbye for a very short time and give it back to Sean and the station for this very short break. So please don't go away. We've got some really, really in-depth and good, intelligent talk about finance and taxes coming up. Thanks. Is right on top of his stuff. Far be it for me to want to interrupt anything like that. But anyway, welcome back to the Educated Retirement here on the second half hour. The first half hour seemed to go by in about 3 minutes. And probably this half hour will too, except we've got somebody a little smarter than myself. Maybe, well, there's no such thing as a little, it to be a lot. And let me introduce Mr. James, although I think we can call him Jim. That'll be up to him. Veale. And Jim is well, you know what? I'll let him talk about it more. I was going to say CPA in a lot of different companies and I will say that he's a real expert on reverse mortgages when it comes to taxes, laws, and is not only a member but a contributor to the reverse mortgage lobbying group, if you want to call it that or whatever, NARMLA. So go ahead, James or Jim, tell us whichever one is more comfortable for you, and go ahead and just introduce yourself first.
Okay, my name is Jim Veale, so you can use Jim J.
Okay, you can call me Jim or you can call me Jay.
And I'm a retired CPA. I'm almost Jay's age exactly. And I also am a retired tax planner, and I am a licensed real estate broker as well as a licensed loan mortgage originator. I went to school at Cal State Long Beach, graduated there in 1977, and got my graduate degree in tax from USC in 1988. And with that, Jay, I'll let you introduce the topic.
Okay, well, the overall topic is, of course, for us to learn more about different ramifications having to do with the reverse mortgage or the home equity conversion that I talk about quite a bit, but we don't always get into specifics. And let Jim talk about how the refis, because right now we are really knee deep into, actually we're neck deep into refinances. So go ahead and give us your take on that, Jim.
Okay, let me give you a little background about what's happened in reverse mortgages over the years. The first HECM to HECM refi transaction was approved for insurance in fiscal 2002. I talk about fiscal years, I'm an accountant.
Okay.
And what I mean is the 12-month period that ended September 30th, 2002. So HUD has a September 30 year end. The first HECM ever endorsed was endorsed in fiscal 1989, 13 years earlier. And after almost 19 years, the number of HECM refis now number just over 85,500. In the first 7 months of this year, we've had more HECM refis than any other fiscal year in the history of the industry.
And that probably has to do with, go ahead.
Has to do with higher equity for seniors in their homes, and also the low interest rates we're now experiencing.
Right. And of course, the people who already got their HECMs earlier have probably gotten a little older. And as you get older, value of the property and interest rates all go into the amount of the amount of the benefit.
That's right. That's right. Since 2001, we've had $1.2 million, million HECMs endorsed. And
that sounds like a big number, but with, I think, $8 trillion now tied up in home equity, it may not be that big a number.
No, it isn't a big number right now. We're in the midst of the growth period, and we're hoping that continues until we get back to where we were in 2009.
Yeah.
Back then, we had over 100,000 a year, and reverse mortgages were really quite helpful in helping seniors to survive retirement.
Right. And, as I like to always bring out, it's not just a survivable thing. It's not just, it's always surviving, but it has a lot to do with financial planning. And I really think no matter what kind of financial situation you, me, or whoever is in, this should really be a part, or they at least need to look at it as a part of their financial strategy.
They really should. Both you and I know that most seniors get a reverse mortgage and then get a refi afterwards in order to get as maximum number of proceeds as they can. Right now I've seen loans that have come in with $100,000 in additional proceeds.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I've got one now that's going, they're going to have $245,000 in their line of credit, and they had less than $100,000. So even though you don't need the money now, that line of credit grows, and the base amount in it, the larger it is, the faster it's going to grow. And also refinance is also for lowering interest rates, which will save them or their heirs a good amount of money in the future.
That's right. I'll give you an example. Let's say that an upfront refinance cost on a HECM are right now $9,000.
Okay.
If the current interest rate on the HECM they now have is 3.75, and the mortgage insurance premium is at a rate of 1.25%, what happens is that we can now do a refi, and the refi drops down the interest rate from 3.75 to 3.5, and the MIP from 1.25 to 0.5. After 10 years, the borrower will see a savings of $33,436.
I like the other number too.
I did
too. You know what? But no, all of that counts. All of that is very important.
It does. And after 20 years, it goes down to 120. It goes down by 127,014 of what it would have been had they continued on with their old HECM.
Wow.
So the idea here is either a borrower can get more proceeds, or they can have a HECM that will result in a lot lower balance due when it terminates.
Right, and those proceeds can be, in as cash or the line of credit, which is usable later. And you never know what's going to happen later. You never know when that black swan is going to drift into sight.
That's right. Now we're going to change subjects for a minute. We're going to get to my favorite subject, which is interest. One of the most interesting things to me is...
You are interesting. Yes, go ahead. I know that you are interested.
One of the interesting things to me about the IRS is that even before there was a HECM, they put out a revenue ruling in 1980 that basically talked about when you can deduct the interest on a reverse mortgage. And they were dealing with cash basis taxpayers, which most of us are when it comes to our itemized deductions. And in that ruling, they basically said, you can deduct the interest as it is paid. Okay? And that was a big thing back then because nobody knew when you were supposed to deduct this stuff. There was IRS opinion that it should be deducted when it's finally paid off, or it should be deducted as you're go along. Well, They went along with the position that should be done as you're going along.
Huh.
There's a big problem today with itemized deductions, and I think we've all dealt with it at one time or another, and that is that we have something called the standard deduction.
Right.
And the standard
Which
deduction
just went up, right?
exactly. It goes up. It would go up next year too by about $300.
Okay.
But right now it's $27,000. Well, most of us who are older, we don't have itemized deductions that total up to $27,000
No, unless it's medical,
unless it's medical, or we're very charitable, or we're
Yes.
so loaded we don't know what to do with ourselves, so we give away our money, and we have a lot of debt.
Uh-huh, understood.
So interest, interest related to acquisition indebtedness. And acquisition indebtedness has an easy definition. It means you use the proceeds of the loan to buy the home, to construct the home, or to substantially improve it. So those are the things that
Okay.
if you use the proceeds for that, it gets qualified as acquisition indebtedness.
Okay.
Use the proceeds of a reverse mortgage to live on, that interest is not deductible.
Huh. Boy,
So-
that's, yeah. Now, how many tax preparers know that?
Well, a lot of people are aware of what acquisition indebtedness is, but the problem is in trying to compute it.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually, let me give you a real hard example, and it's easy to understand, but it's a hard one, not because it's difficult, but just because you don't know where anything is.
No kidding. I never do. I know that.
Let's say you had a forward mortgage, and then you got a reverse, and the reverse paid off the forward mortgage, and now you're doing a refi again.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Those are good examples. They're kind of the same and a little bit different.
So the first money went to buy the home,
Yes.
okay? And at the same time, the person decided that, hey, we want a second so that we can go do some fun things and pay for our daughter's wedding and everything else. Well, before 1987, all of that debt, the interest related to that debt, as long as it was secured by the home,
Mm-hmm.
was deductible.
Ah,
Okay.
that's the way most of us still think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, what I learned when I first started out, which was 1972, is still with me today, more so than what I've had to spend years unlearning and relearning. And we have a propensity to just go back the way that things were when we originally did stuff. So one question that comes up when people are doing reverse mortgages is, how will I know the amount of interest I paid in a tax year? Okay. And that answer is, fortunately, the lender sends out a Form 1098, and it shows on that form how much interest you paid in that particular year. Now, what it doesn't show is how much of that interest is deductible.
Right. Now, if you get a reverse mortgage and you haven't taken out anything extra, then all the interest you pay over the next, 100 years sounds to me like that would be tax deductible because it had to do with buying or purchasing the home. Or, well, we didn't get into a refi, but if it was for purchasing a home, it would be, right?
The name HECM for purchase, as we call it,
Yes.
does not convey the meaning to the IRS that any of those proceeds, the interest on any of those proceeds, are deductible. You have to prove what you spent it on.
Okay.
And so they want to see what that number is, plus the bills you have to back it up. So like if you bought the home, you'd have a HUD-1, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's
Okay.
Yes.
And so, these are the kind of things that you would have to keep around, and some kind of records you can find in case you were ever audited for the interest that you're deducting.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why we talk about the home that was a forward mortgage. You got a reverse. Now you got another reverse. Well, the way this works is you simply look for all the acquisition indebtedness. That's the only thing you're going to ever be able to deduct. And then you have to account for things like I was paying this down and now my loan balance is low. Then the amount of my acquisition indebtedness, and the answer becomes that's how much your acquisition indebtedness is now and in the future.
Okay.
So
okay.
If you had a reverse mortgage, let's say that first reverse mortgage, and you took a few trips to places and you bought a nice new car, and maybe you even had enough left over that you could put a down payment on a motorhome. All right. All that would be considered personal interest. None of that would be considered deductible. The interest related to it, none of it would be considered deductible. And so bottom line is you're in a position of the only interest you're going to be able to deduct goes way back to that first mortgage.
Okay, so that's still out there though when you paid that one. The first one off with the second one. The second one was used for that indebtedness.
That's exactly right. Now, here's what the problem is. You've also got to be able to show the IRS how your payments have gone, and if your acquisition indebtedness is now less than what it was when you first bought the home. So you've got to keep those records, and you've got to keep some accounting with it to be able to show the IRS that what you're doing is tax deductible.
Now, let's say you take money out of your line of credit a few years after you get it, and you use it to replace the roof on your home.
Okay, generally, and you need all the information related to it, and I would take some pictures, but bottom line is that additional debt should be tax deductible.
Right, okay. Now, we know that you don't pay taxes when you take the money out, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the new interest that now you will be accruing or paying. Yes.
That's exactly right. Now I'm going to go into something that's a lot of people don't realize, but one big mistake. Yes, you can make monthly payments, and I encourage people to make payments on their reverse mortgages, but only if they have an adjustable rate HECM. And the reason why is that money that you pay in gets added to the line of credit.
Yeah.
And so you can always go back and re-borrow it again.
Yeah, I mean, look at that kind of flexibility. It's like you're making the decisions for the bank.
Exactly. And you have the right to take that out at any time. So let's decide, let's say that a year after you paid down your reverse mortgage quite a bit, all of a sudden your wife had a medical problem and Medicare only covered part of it, and now you needed some money. You could go right back and take that money right back out. And the nice thing about it, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
The nice thing
I was just going to say that you had mentioned a motorhome earlier or a new car.
Right.
You know, if you take money out tax-free from your line of credit to buy that new car, you can actually, instead of paying, or the motorhome, instead of paying a higher interest rate to the motorhome finance people, you can just pay yourself back in whatever payment you want, and every penny goes back into the line of credit.
That's exactly right. Plus, you'll have a tax deduction if you plan it right. Okay? But like I said, I encourage people to pay down that line, the balance due when there's a line of credit available that would go down with it. With a HECM, one of the wonderful things about it is your line of credit doesn't just grow by the principal you pay back.
I know, that's so crazy, but great, yeah.
But also the interest, right? And the MIP.
Yeah, now I can look at the formulas and see why that happens, but we don't want to get into that with the people. Just the fact that it does happen is incredible.
It is very incredible. I mean, it still surprises me to this day, but it's one of the great benefits of a reverse mortgage. Whatever you pay down on that mortgage, you can get back later. Now, what most people make a mistake, and I said there were some mistakes made. What most people make a mistake about is they continue making the same monthly payments that they used to make on their forward mortgage, which has some sensibility to it, but it means at the end of the year when you get your interest paid and you try and itemize, all that payment that you made has no income tax value because you're going to take that standard deduction.
Probably so, yes. Yeah,
And-
well, yeah.
And if you have more than that, let's say you have 30,000, it's only 3,000 of those additional dollars that are going to
Yeah.
give you help, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't mean you save 3,000 on your taxes. It just means it's that much of a write-off.
That's exactly right. Which, you know, it may be at 20% for federal and it might
Yeah.
be 5% for state. So, you know, on $3,000, you might get a benefit of $750. And, you know, you paid in a lot more than that in the way of
Yes,
interest.
you do. Yes.
Okay. So this isn't the good old days when we used to have itemized deductions and, you know, there's real value to every dollar of it. This is a new era. And so one of the things you want to do is work with a tax advisor. I'm plugging my own field now.
Yeah, no, you should. You should. It's too bad you're still not working. We'd probably have some people that want to call you.
Oh, you know, this is one thing that, you know, you kind of half regret, but you don't.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys who's driven crazy because we were the 9th largest CPA firm in Los Angeles County. And
Wow.
I was the head of the tax department, and there
Ouch.
was no other partner who was a tax partner. Everybody else was audit or accounting.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I went through a period, I was there 16 years, and I went through a period where, you know, my nerves were on an edge. So I've got him out of that field, but that's another story.
Yeah, you
Okay.
don't seem like you're on edge anymore. You seem like you're in good shape.
Hey, I've been around you a lot.
Oh, thank you. That's-
But let me go into this just for a minute. One of the things a tax advisor can help you with is when should you pay interest on your reverse mortgage?
right.
Okay? And what you really want to do, instead of making monthly mortgage payments, you want to set them aside in a savings account or something of that nature so that every 3 years you can get whatever interest has built in those 3 years and you can pay it in one. So let's say that
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
okay. And you know, if you give the charity the right thing to do in that particular case, so you get full benefit out of your charitable deduction, is we call it bunching. You pull some from the prior year. In other words, you didn't make your gifts to the church, and if you're worried about that, talk to your minister. But the idea is you're trying to get a maximum benefit from your tax deductions. And so you pull them all into the same year that you're going to make this interest deduction, and you make sure that tax year has sufficient income that you're going to get a maximum benefit from it.
Right.
And then every other year, you'll have the standard deduction, which is going up every single year.
Right.
So that basically means you get the best of both worlds, which to me is the right thing to do.
You're absolutely correct.
This is one, I call this a true tax strategy. Okay? There aren't many of them, but this is one of them.
Yes, it is.
Okay, now, one thing that is very true about reverse mortgages is when you pass away, whatever the accrued but unpaid interest is at the point you pass away,
This is important. Yeah. Go ahead.
this accrued interest goes to your heirs, whoever it is that owns the home. So you want to make sure you name the child who's going to own the home, or the nephew or the niece, and you want to make sure that that person is the person who has a lot of income, so that the benefit for when the house is paid off, is sold, you may decide to let it go through foreclosure, whatever it is that you decide that the heir is going to decide to do at the house.
It's still going to pay off the loan.
Exactly. Now, again, it's only going to be a deduction. The way it's handled is this: it's handled as if you were still alive and you made that payment. So it looks to how would you been able to deduct it? Would it been acquisition indebtedness? That's great, and your children will love it, or your nephew or niece will love it. But the idea is, you've now done something that's going to help them with income taxes, which is a big deal.
Oh, yes, it is, because now that your heirs have capital gains, and who knows what's going to happen with inheritance, and these are bigger numbers, but still,
that's right.
They can be there.
Step up and basis could go away, and we're going to need some deductions for that. Excuse me, for that. But the idea here is that what you're doing is you're helping your children plan for their future.
Yeah.
And you want them to be able to plan it so that they can bring a lot of income. So they may have taxable IRAs. So you roll over the taxable IRA into Roth in the year that all this interest is deductible. And I've been running numbers recently. And one number I ran just recently on a $300,000 HECM that had a 3.5% interest rate. After 20 years, the amount of the accrued interest was over $500,000.
Wow.
Now, if that had been a HECM for purchase and the monies were only used to buy a house, imagine how much that would mean to a doctor who has maybe $700,000, $800,000 in income. And now all of a sudden, he's got an interest deduction of $500,000.
Wow.
Now imagine the IRS, okay? The IRS gets the tax return in, they see the $800,000 in income, and they see the $500,000 in deduction. Guess what they're going to want to do? Of course, they're going to want to do an audit of that $500,000 deduction.
Yeah, and I'm used to audits, all right, but yeah.
Yeah, and I am too. But what you have to understand, what people need to understand is that they need to gather all the data that proves that $500,000 was acquisition indebtedness, and let their children or whoever's going to inherit the house know where those documents are. So in case there is an audit, which on that size of a deduction, there most certainly will be,
Right.
Now they can go in and prove it quite easily.
Yeah. As long as you've got your records, you're in good shape. So, us older people need to get that stuff all lined up, have it put in one place, and get it all out of the way before you have to worry about it. It's a gift to your children. It's a gift to yourself.
That's right. And I'm also going to tell you one other thing. If I did a reverse mortgage at this point, and we're in transition of getting the house, but okay, so when I get that reverse mortgage, I should say,
yes,
I'm going to want to do a schedule of every single monthly mortgage statement, so I can prove that I didn't pay it down below the acquisition indebtedness level. So I've got all that right there on one sheet. And then the IRS can go back and look at each one of those statements to make sure I'm correct.
Yeah.
But because I do it month by month, that's a lot less work than what that IRS agent's going to have to go through.
Yeah, and we want them to work real hard.
Yeah.
We get worn out real easily.
Jay, you'll love this. One of my bosses, we were at Kaiser Steel, and we had a basement. And what he did one day to the agents that were in there auditing, he turned down the temperature to below 60. And it's already cold down there. So they're getting this blast of cold air in a cold, damp area. And they came upstairs and they said, "Why are we so cold down there?"
Because you're IRS agents, that's why.
That's 100% right. So, Jay, I have a lot more we could talk about, but
yes, there is. There is a lot more, but like I had warned you before, the time goes so fast, and I'm sure we've all enjoyed it so much. And Jim, I really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you no later probably than our Tuesday meetings.
Yes.
And, I really want to thank you on behalf of all the people listening and all of the good information that you gave. And I will be sharing that with everybody I can. I'll probably be sharing it with a lot of tax people because they probably don't know all this stuff either. But, these are all very, very good things. And, and I used to tell people, or I do still tell people about how they can, their children can write off the taxes, but I didn't know all the details. And they'd say, no, that's too good to be true. Well, it is true.
It is very
So
true.
there we go. There goes. I hear the music, which means the hook is coming to pull me off stage. So thank you so much, Jim. Okay, take care of
That's
yourself.
fine. You take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Educated Retirement Show with Jay Kaplan. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. to learn more about your mortgage and reverse mortgages. And don't forget, each show is also podcasted on the KMET website, KMET 1498.